So brood is nothing but it is the genital pouch in females. Okay, and other than that it contains female gonopore, then spermatical pores, and also collateral glands. We will be learning about this in the reproductive part. Okay, now let us move on to the next part, children. Let us learn about the male cockroaches. Right, so in males we are able to find that the genital pouch or the chamber lies at the hind end of the abdomen, bounded dorsally by the 9th and 10th terga and ventrally by the 9th sternum. Right, so how is the male genital pouch? You can see in the male portion here. So where is the genital pouch here, children? We are able to find the genital pouch in the just the hind end of the abdomen, children, at the end portion of the abdomen. So this genital in males the genital pouch is seen at the hind end of the abdomen. And how is it bounded by? So it is somewhere present here. It is a hind end, right? So it is present here. And how is it bounded? It is bounded dorsally by 9th and 10th terga, right? So it is bounded by 9th and 10th terga dorsally. That is in the back portion it is like this, and in the front portion, that is the front portion means the abdominal portion of the cockroach. നമ്മൾ പുറത്ത് കാണാത്ത ഉള്ളിലത്തെ സൈഡ് അല്ലേ, അവിടെ it is seen it is seen in the ventral portion by the 9th sternum. Right, so I hope you remember about the sternum and terga. I hope you remember about the sclerites which we have studied. Right, so these sclerites in the dorsal part it is called as tergites, and in the ventral part it is called as the sternum. Right, so we are able to find the genital pore here, and you can see the 9th and the 10th segment laterally in the sideways, and it is the terga, and ventrally it is surrounded by the 9th sternum. Right, so this is the sternum. Ventrally it is sternum, and dorsally it is called as terga. Right, clear, children? So this male cockroaches, it contains the, so their reproductive part in the abdomen, it contains the dorsal anus. So in the dorsal portion there is the presence of anus, and ventral male genital pore. In the ventral portion we are able to find the male genital pore, and we are able to find the, which is also called as gonopore. Okay, and it also has a part which is called as gonapophysis. Right, so gonapophysis is also seen in the male reproductive part. Clear, children? Now, pair of short thread-like anal styles. You can see it here. It is absent in the female. It is seen only in the male. You can see the small extension in the lower part, right? So this is called as the anal style, and it is seen only in the male. Now, in both sexes, that is in the 10th segment, they bear a pair of jointed anal cerci. Right, so they bear a pair of anal cerci. You can see it here. So this is the anal cerci, this one and this one. So they have a pair, right? So this last pair is called as anal cerci. Clear? So this is about the male and the female abdominal portion. So now let us start with the anatomy part of the cockroach, children. So now let's start with anatomy. So before we move on to that, just see the differences here between male and the female cockroach. In male, wings are extended beyond the tip of the abdomen, do not extend beyond the tip of the abdomen, and narrow abdomen is seen, broad abdomen is seen in the case of female, and anal styles are present, and here it is absent. Brood pouch is absent, and here it is present. Right, so now let us see about the first part of the anatomy, which is the digestive system. So let us see about digestive system, and then we will be learning about the other systems. So the alimentary canal, which is present in the body cavity, it is divided into 3 regions, or it is divided into 3 parts, and these 3 parts are foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Right, so this is the foregut. It starts from here and it ends here, and this is the midgut, and last one is the hindgut. Right, so this tubular portion is called as the midgut, and this is the hindgut. Okay, so alimentary canal is present in the body cavity, which means that in the body empty space itself the alimentary canal is present, and is divided into foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Okay, now let us see about the first part, which is the foregut. So it is lined by cuticle, and it starts with the mouth, which opens into the short tubular pharynx. So this foregut, it starts with the mouth of the cockroach, and from there it enters into the short tubular pharynx portion. So we know that pharynx is a portion through which we in human beings also it is a passage through which the food is taken into the next part. So from the mouth it moves on to the pharynx, which is a short tubular portion, and then it leads to a narrow tubular passage. You can see the narrow passage here, right? So this is the mouth portion. From here it enters into the pharynx. So this is the pharynx portion. This portion is the pharynx, and then I will just use other color so that it will be clear for you. Okay, so you can see the mouth here, and from here it enters the short tubular portion, which is the pharynx, and from the pharynx it enters into the narrow tube portion, which is called as the esophagus. So this part is called as the esophagus. I hope you are clear with this. This portion is called as the esophagus. So from the pharynx it leads to a narrow tubular passage, which is called as esophagus, right? And then now this esophagus in turn opens into a sac-like structure called as crop. So this sac-like structure after the esophagus is called as the crop portion. So this part is called as the crop. And why is this crop needed? This crop is the place where the food is stored in the cockroach, right? So we know that esophagus, and as like in human beings, here also it is acting as a passage for movement of food. So the food which is entering through the pharynx enters into the narrow tubular part, which is called as the esophagus, and from the esophagus it then enters into a sac-like structure, which is called a crop, and this crop is the place where the food is being stored, right? Now after the crop we are able to find the next part, which is called as the gizzard or proventriculus, right? So this part is called as the gizzard or proventriculus, and it has an outer layer of thick circular muscles and thick inner muscles, which is inner cuticle, which is forming 6 highly chitinous plate called as teeth. So this is the portion where we find the presence of teeth, children. So how is the gizzard? Gizzard is having an outer layer of thick circular muscles. So outer part of the gizzard is made up of thick muscular muscles and thick inner cuticle, which is forming 6 chitinous plates called as teeth is present in the gizzard. So in the mouth portion, usually in human beings, in the mouth portion we have teeth, right? So and what is the use of the teeth? It helps us in chewing and grinding the food, no? So same way here, this gizzard is the portion which helps in grinding the food, and for grinding the food the outer layer is thick circular, it is made up of thick circular muscles, and the thick cuticle, that is in the inner portion we are able to find the thick inner cuticle, which is forming 6 chitinous plates, and these are called as the teeth. So these 6 chitinous plates, which is present inside the gizzard, is called as the teeth. And what is the use of the gizzard? It helps in grinding the food particles. So that grinding process is done with the help of the teeth-like structure, which is made up of highly chitinous plate, right? And now the entire foregut is lined by the cuticle. So as like the gizzard, the complete foregut has been lined by the cuticle. Okay, now let us see about the ring of 6 to 8 blind tubules which is seen in the foregut portion. So a ring of 6 to 8, you can see some structures here, like that is some thicker structures which is like thread like here, right? So it is not as thin as thread like structure, it is little thicker, right? So the ring of 6 to 8 blind tubules, so these are called as the blind tubules, and they are named as gastric cicae or hepatic cicae. Okay, they have written it here. So this is called as the hepatic cicae, that is the ring of 6 to 8 blind tubules are called as hepatic cicae or gastric cicae. Okay, and this is the part which is present at the junction of the foregut and midgut. So where do we find this this hepatic cicae? It is found in the junction of the hindgut and the midgut. Sorry, foregut and the midgut. Okay, so where is the junction here? So this part is the junction. Just change the color. So this part is the junction. So you can see in this junction, you can see the blue color part, no? So from this junction, you can see 6 to 8 tubules which are coming out, right? So these are the blind tubules and they are called as hepatic siccae or gastric siccae, right? And where do we see this? It is present at the junction of the foregut and midgut. So this is the foregut portion, the upper portion is the foregut and this is the midgut. So it is in the junction. Junction means it is a point where the foregut and the midgut joins together, right? So in the junction we are able to find this hepatic siccae. Now let us see about the thing which this hepatic siccae secretes. So this hepatic siccae or the gastric siccae, it secretes the digestive juices. So what is the function of this? It secretes the digestive juices. Okay, and at the junction of the midgut and the hindgut is present another ring, right? So here in the foregut and the in the midgut we saw a ring of 6 to 8 blind tubules, right? And same way in the junction of the midgut and the hindgut. So this portion is the hindgut, no? So it is in this junction we are able to find another ring of 100 to 150. You can see these are little thread like structure. They are not as thick as these hepatic siccae, right? So these are very thread like structures, no? So at the junction of the midgut and hindgut we are able to see the presence of another ring which is made up of 100 to 150. How many of them are there? These structures are 100 to 150 yellow colored thin filamentous structures are seen, which is called as the Malpighian tubules. So this is the Malpighian tubules, children. So in the upper portion, digestive system is divided into foregut, midgut and hindgut. ഈ foregut midguttum join ചെയ്യുന്ന ഈ place we are able to find, in this junction we are able to find the hepatic siccae, right? Same way they help in the secretion of digestive juices. Same way in the junction of the midgut and the hindgut. So this is the midgut and this is the hindgut and this is the junction, no? So here we are able to find a ring of around 100 to 150 tubules, right? So they are yellow colored thin filamentous structure and they are called as the Malpighian tubules. Okay, so hepatic siccae is the part where the digestive juices are secreted, and at the junction of the midgut and hindgut there is another colored thin filamentous yellow colored tubules which are called as the Malpighian tubules. Now, what is the function of this Malpighian tubule? They help in the removal of the excretory substances, right? That is excretory products from the hemolymph. What is this hemolymph? Hemolymph is nothing but the blood part of the cockroach. So from that hemolymph, they help in removal of the excretory products, right? So this is about the midgut. Now last, moving on to the next part, which is the hindgut. So this hindgut, it is broader than the midgut. So hindgut is little broader than the midgut. You can see it here. So this is the hindgut, this is the midgut. So it is little narrower and this is little broader. Okay, and it is differentiated into ileum, colon and rectum. So this hindgut is divided into ileum, colon and rectum, right? So this one is the ileum. That small tube like structure which we see here is the ileum, and this portion is the colon and this portion is the rectum, right? So this is about the three different parts of the hindgut, right? So it includes ileum, colon and rectum, and this rectum, it opens through the anus. So it opens out of the cockroach's body through the anus portion, right? So this is about the hindgut. So you can see it here, children. Here it has been internally lined by cuticle, but in midgut also we don't see cuticle, but in